On Christmas, Amy gave me a single red rose. Her new assistant's birthday came around, and she gave him a luxury-branded watch worth hundreds of thousands. I had been dropping hints about that watch for ages. When I found out, she said, "Don't make a fuss. You have everything, and he grew up poor. He just wants a luxury watch. In that case, I don't want a wife like this either." I accidentally found a watch in my wife's shopping cart. Plus, our 7-year anniversary was only a few days away. I was internally thrilled. I had mentioned these cufflinks to Amy before, but on our anniversary day, nothing happened. All day was calm. Even before bed, Amy didn't show any signs. Then she came out of the shower. I have to say, time has been kind to Amy. Her beautiful figure wrapped in a towel, not hiding her curves. A droplet of water fell from her hair and rolled down her chest. My wife is stunning. I hinted. Today is January 31st. While drying her hair, Amy smiled and said, "Yeah, another month has flown by." I couldn't hold it anymore. "Remember 7 years ago today we met?" Amy walked over, her eyes full of affection looking at me. It was a dark and windy night, perfect atmosphere. I expected. Who knew? She just patted my head. "Oh right, time flies. 7 years already. It's getting late, and we both have work tomorrow. Let's get some sleep." Her words poured a bucket of cold water on me. I thought I'd give her one more chance. Christmas is just days away. But a few days later, I saw her new colleague wearing that same watch. The dazzling sparkle flashed, nearly blinding me. That day, I was out on an errand and it was nearly lunchtime. Thinking her office was nearby, I decided to visit Amy. I bumped into a guy at the restroom door. "Oh, sorry." I bent down to help him pick up his papers. When I looked up, I was stunned. The guy seemed unfamiliar, probably new. I hadn't been to Amy's office in quite some time, but the watch on his wrist matched the one I saw in Amy's shopping cart. Could this be a coincidence? "Why are you so clumsy?" Amy frowned at the boy from her office door. "Sorry, boss." The boy looked flustered. Amy hurried over, helped me up, and with concern in her eyes, asked, "Did you get hurt?" "No, I bumped into him. Let me check you over in the office. After that, we can have lunch." Amy pulled me to her office without sparing the boy even a glance. Am I overthinking this? Everyone says Amy is the perfect wife, beautiful, successful, and good to me. Friends joke that in my past life I must have saved the galaxy. Old colleagues shared gossip about Peter, the new guy. Peter's Amy's new assistant, covering for the one on maternity leave. He's still in his senior year, here as an intern for just over 2 months. They say Peter's got a complex background. "Don't let his quiet demeanor fool you," they said. "Did you see his watch? Worth hundreds of thousands, yet I hear his girlfriend's wealthy. I saw her drop him off in a flashy sports car once." Peter having a girlfriend eased my mind. Luxury brands only have so many classic designs. Matching is bound to happen. I comforted myself, wait a bit longer. Maybe Amy's saving it for Christmas. After all, I've hinted multiple times. On Christmas, Amy took me out to dinner and gave me a single rose. I felt let down. Amy had given me a supplementary card. She always said I should buy what I liked. During dinner, her phone buzzed constantly. After checking it once, her expression turned serious. "Michael, there's something at work. I need to handle it." With that, our romantic Christmas dinner abruptly ended. Amy dropped me home, and before I could say be careful, she drove off. That night, she came back late, so late that I tossed and turned alone in bed until I fell asleep. Her job is really demanding. She made time to pick me up, and yesterday wasn't right. She promised we'd have a redo today, take me to my favorite Japanese restaurant and then shopping for whatever I want. Amy said, in her usual affectionate way whenever she tried to make things right. Looking up at Amy, her eyes were just as sincere as always, nothing different. But once in the car, a faint, almost unnoticeable perfume scent caught my attention. I'm highly sensitive to scents, and I remembered smelling this on Peter that day. The doubts I managed to suppress started creeping back. I shouldn't doubt her, not after all these years, all we've been through together. But I couldn't sleep. So, when Amy fell asleep, I took her phone to the bathroom. I knew it was wrong to peek, but this felt like a thorn in my heart, pricking now and then. Nervously, I shakily opened her phone. The watch was no longer in Amy's shopping cart. My heart tightened. I quickly checked her orders. No record of the cufflinks. I breathed a sigh of relief. Searching further, there were no hidden accounts. Even her chats with Peter were straightforward, ordinary colleague talk. Then I opened Peter's Instagram. On Christmas Day, Peter posted a blurry photo of a silhouette. Silent company is also happiness. And earlier, a selfie flaunting the watch with a beaming smile. Captioned simply, "Thank you for making me feel worthy of better things," with a heart emoji. All too coincidental. I pulled up my phone, having added Peter's contact before, and opened Instagram, but his was empty. Thinking of something, I checked Amy's payment records. Seeing that transaction, my blood froze. Amy was my first love, the daughter of my college professor. Back in college, my math professor was often inviting a few of us over for meals. Once, we went to his house with him and some classmates busy in the kitchen. He suddenly called me to fetch something from his room. When I opened the door, I was startled to find a woman lying on his bed. Turned out it was his daughter, Amy, taking a nap there. She had just returned after completing her master's and working a year in Australia, intending to settle here. Later, Amy joked with me, "You see, my mom treats you students better than she does me. When I'm not home, she turns my room into a study room for you all to use." I felt a bit guilty hearing that. Later, the professor said, "You haven't been home for years. Keeping your room empty is a waste. Besides, you've already rented a place. Why should I keep your room?" During that time, I was preparing for a math competition, so I went to the professor's house more often. I often saw Amy, and after every meal, the professor would have her walk me to the community gate. After a while, it felt a bit awkward for me. "Amy, you don't need to bother. I can go back on my own. Can't you tell I'm trying to win you over?" I was stunned. I did feel Amy treated me a bit differently than other students. It seemed like she paid more attention to me. Sometimes when I struggled with a tough problem, she'd join the discussion and offer solutions. At meals, it was like she knew my favorites, always placing dishes I liked close to me. These were just my own assumptions, though. Over time, nothing seemed particularly different. I hadn't dated before, so I quickly brushed it off. "So, Michael, can I officially say I have the honor to be your partner?" And that's how we got together. Once Amy and I were together, I was thrilled to find out we had many common interests and could chat endlessly. I'm the only child, from a business family, harmonious at home, and my parents are very doting. Amy's dad passed away early, but her mom, the professor, is wise and kind, raising Amy well. We were a good match in background and interests. Our relationship had no major hurdles, and transitioning from dating to marriage was smooth sailing. When our families discussed marriage, it was settled over a single meal, no stress at all. Amy was 4 years older than me, always doting, and I was somewhat spoiled. At meals, she'd always peel crabs for me while I focused on eating. My mom teased, "This girl will never grow up," letting him become spoiled beyond measure. The professor laughed. "Michael is my pride and joy, so polite and mature. Thank you for raising him so well. Amy, if you ever mistreat him, I'll be the first to scold you." Amy held my hand, earnestly saying, "Uncle, Aunt, don't worry. I'll never let him suffer." It feels like yesterday when Amy promised to love and care for me forever. Then Christmas came with expensive gifts and perfume in the car. Probability-wise, maybe Amy had a change of heart. My chest clenched, tears welled in my eyes. I'm not one to overlook faults. If she's truly fallen for someone else, I'd rather not hold onto a tainted love. I decided I needed to talk frankly with Amy. When I went to her office that day, it was quiet, lunchtime. I went straight to Amy's office. The door was half open. Even though I was mentally prepared, the scene before me enraged and embarrassed me. Amy and Peter were eating, sitting close, almost touching. Peter fed Amy with a spoon, and she nonchalantly accepted it. They exchanged smiles. The air was charged with an intimate vibe. "Am I interrupting?" I said. They looked up. Amy's eyes were filled with shock and panic. She quickly regained composure and smiled. What brings you here? Have you eaten? Want to join us? If I hadn't come, I wouldn't have caught this show. My tone was dripping with sarcasm, and Amy frowned. She turned gently towards Peter. Can you give us a moment? What else is there to say? I angrily shook off Amy's attempts to touch me. It's not what it looks like, Michael. Let me explain. I was too busy to eat. Peter is my assistant, and I was reviewing reports, so he was feeding me. I know it's inappropriate. I'll be more careful. How about I relocate him and get a different assistant? Do you still think I'm a fool? I stared coldly at Amy. On Christmas, you rushed out to meet him, didn't you? Amy smoothed her forehead. That really was work-related. It got late, and I didn't think it was safe for her to go home alone, so I gave her a lift. What about those vague messages only visible to him? And the watch you bought, why is it with him? Don't tell me you're just colleagues. I threw the screenshot of her payment towards her. You went through my phone? She asked, sighing helplessly. He helped secure a big deal soon after joining. The watch was a reward. When I saw how much he liked it, I blurted out I'd give it to him. My anger flared even more. I liked it too. So he means more to you than I do? Stop making excuses. Amy, if your heart's changed, admit it. Don't be difficult, Michael. You have everything and all he wants is a branded watch. I can find another one for you if you want. I want a divorce. Now let's go do it. I was trembling with anger. Other than what you saw, there's nothing between us. I haven't cheated or done anything against you. Peter comes from a poor background, born in a remote mountain village. He's the only one to go to college from there. I admire his drive and vitality. Her words made it hard to breathe. Amy used to say she liked my intelligence and independence. Now, she used those words for someone else. But there's nothing between us, really. It's my fault and I apologize, Michael. How could Amy say such shameless words? I wondered. I was infuriated to the point of laughter. Amy, when I walked in, you instinctively shielded him like a protector. You watched him leave with concern, not looking back at me until he passed by. Were you afraid I'd harm him? We've been together for years, and I know what it looks like when you're interested in someone. So emotional cheating doesn't count as cheating? So you mean I have to catch you in the act for it to count? Do I have to wait until you trample my dignity into the ground? Amy? What am I supposed to do? Amy finally panicked and came over to hug me tightly as I cried my eyes out. No. Maybe I just felt a little sorry for him. But I know it's you I love. I already let him go. Can it just be the two of us, please? I pushed Amy away and slapped her. Amy, you're an idiot. That day, I don't even know how I got home. I was like a zombie, just dragging myself back to my place and collapsing on my bed. Amy, worried I might do something rash, followed me all the way. I spent the whole day refusing to eat or drink. I didn't touch the food Amy left by the door. The next day, I opened the door and Amy jumped up from the couch. It was clear she hadn't slept all night. She looked worn out, her lips pale. Please, Michael, just eat something, okay? I made your favorite oyster and shrimp congee. Seeing you like this is worse than death for me. Yell at me, hit me, what do I need to do for you to feel better? Amy's voice was hoarse. I sat at the table and drank a bowl of congee. Seeing Amy's hopeful and pleading eyes, I looked up. I don't want anything except a divorce. When are we going to do it? Let's do it as soon as possible. I'll stay at my parents' place for now. The light in Amy's eyes gradually dimmed. She said, you go stay at your parents' for a few days. Whenever you want to come back, I'll be here to pick you up. I'm serious. Her hand paused on the doorknob before she finally bolted out. I informed both of our families about the divorce. My dad was furious and wanted to confront Amy, but my mom held him back. We're getting a divorce. My mother-in-law sighed. This is so frustrating. But Michael, are you really sure you won't give her another chance? I shook my head. I was determined to go through with it. I stayed at my parents' place. Amy kept begging and apologizing. She stood in the rain waiting for me, but I avoided her. She sent messages and called, but I only replied once. I'm only talking about divorce, nothing else. Dragging it out wasn't a solution either. All the divorce papers I sent her disappeared into thin air. When I tried to discuss the divorce face to face, she began avoiding me. She even had relatives, friends, classmates, all taking turns trying to convince me. Everyone knew how much Amy doted on me, and now they all felt I should let it go. They started seeing me as the unreasonable one. Even my mom ended up saying, maybe you should just give her one more chance. While things were stuck like that, I got a call. Jackson asked cautiously, Michael, haven't seen you around the office. What's going on between you and Amy? Jackson's an old employee at Amy's company. I helped out there for a bit after grad school. We had a lot in common and got along well. Even helped him out with something once. He hesitated. There's something you should know. Amy told HR to fire Peter. Peter went to confront her, but she avoided him. Eventually, Peter left, eyes red and looking utterly defeated. While everyone was whispering about why Peter was suddenly fired, a new client mentioned, there was an accident right outside your building. A car hit a young guy. It was scary. Couldn't watch. Anyway, I've got an appointment with your boss. She around? When Amy heard, she turned pale and rushed past the client, sprinting downstairs. I couldn't really focus on what Jackson was saying because I stumbled upon a video on my tablet. In the video, Amy dashed to the scene, pushing through the crowd. Amy, were you looking for me? Amy turned to see Peter, not too far away. I'm okay. Just got pushed and my stuff scattered. Peter was picking up his things. Amy barked, you're clumsy as ever. Can't even watch where you're going? Peter, eyes watery but defiant, like you care. You already fired me. Not your responsibility anymore. As he spoke, he staggered like he was hurt. Where did you get hurt? Amy asked worriedly, moving closer. My ankle. Don't move. I'll take you to the hospital. Amy helped Peter up. Realizing this, I felt disappointment wash over me. What was I hoping for? Lost in thought, I missed a step going downstairs. A sharp pain shot through my stomach as I lay there, almost losing consciousness. Thinking about the tangled years with Amy, I debated giving her another chance. This relationship, 7 years in the making, felt like part of me, too deeply rooted to simply cut away. I made the call instinctively with fading consciousness. Dialed Amy's number. The seconds stretched. She didn't answer. I called again. Amy, pick up. I have something to ask you. Again, nothing. And then everything went dark. Amy, we're done. I think I dreamt a lot. In my dreams, I became obsessive, frantic. Arguing with Amy, lost count of the times. We'd hurl the worst insults and break anything breakable. Amy, if you walk out that door, I swear I'll die right here. Michael, how many times have you said that? What's the point? Amy looked back coldly, slammed the door. But then, suddenly, she was young again. She pulled out a bracelet from behind her back. Saw it in a shop in Italy, thought you'd like it. She spent every penny she had just to buy it for me. It's beautiful and expensive, right? Stop spending on me like this. My Michael deserves the best in the world. Whenever we fought, she'd come around soon after. Being angry isn't good for you. How could I let you go to sleep upset? I promised you'd always be happy. If you're sad, it's all my fault. Then the scene shifted, like we were watching the northern lights. We'll always be together. Under the aurora, we made promises. I thought we'd last forever, but our forever only spanned 7 years. When my parents got to the hospital, the doctor said, the patient's stomach isn't too good. My mom asked anxiously, is there any way? Please just make him better. The doctor sighed. Let's have him stay for observation first. Thank you, doctor. When Amy arrived at the hospital, I was lying in bed. She kept trying to come in, but my parents kept sending her away. 3 days later, I felt a bit better. Amy had been waiting outside every day. Mom, let her in. We need to talk. Michael, how are you feeling? Are you any better? Take care of yourself. Amy's voice was hoarse and shaky. She reached out but didn't dare touch me. Do we have a future? Where were you when I called you? Amy's face went pale, losing her usual calm. I thought about giving you another chance. After all, the world is full of temptations, and you didn't really do anything wrong. But when I needed you, where were you? Michael, I really don't know. I didn't mean to. I know nothing I say will help. I'm sorry. Amy raised her hand and slapped herself hard, crying miserably. I'd rather be the one who got hurt. Fine, then go ahead and die. Amy looked up at me in disbelief. Do you think this pain compares to the pain I feel inside? Amy looked at me and saw the resoluteness and despair in my eyes. Finally, with reddened eyes, she asked sorrowfully, "Do you really want a divorce?" Fine, I agree. I know it's my fault. I agree to the divorce, hoping you'll be happier. But I'm not giving up. Amy left. My mom held my hand, comforting me. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. Everything will pass. Jackson came to see me, sighing at the end. I didn't expect Amy to be like that. I won't believe in love anymore. Jackson had a girlfriend before. She cheated and took his money. I managed to help him get it back by dealing with the jerk. The nurse told me I needed a checkup, and Jackson volunteered to go with me. Isn't that someone's girlfriend? Jackson walked up, and I was wondering which familiar face he saw. Hey you, can't you keep an eye on your girlfriend? Jackson tapped a woman. The woman turned around. I had seen her before. It was when I went to a bar to drink. I was feeling really down. What can make someone forget their pain? Nearly got set up. A beautiful woman in a white dress saved me, chased away those trying to pick a fight. Don't drink drinks left out of your sight. First time here. Want to have a drink? I was drunk and a bit slow, but my instincts made me shake my head. She smiled, well, head home early. This place isn't for you. Later, I ran into her again outside the bar. She offered to drive me home, and recklessly, I got in her car, maybe courage from alcohol or out of spite. Whatever, right? I got home safe. Hungover. I felt a bit nervous, but nothing happened. Thank goodness. Why punish yourself for others' mistakes? But getting drunk gave me a killer headache. Turns out she was Peter's girlfriend. Can't you mind your boyfriend? Not eating from one bowl while eyeing another? Especially after married ones. You looked fine. How come you can't keep your boyfriend in line? I was lost in thought, nearly ready for Jackson to start a fight. Who are you calling my boyfriend? You make no sense. I'm single and don't just call me hey. My name's Nancy. Jackson put his hands on his hips. So Peter isn't your boyfriend? Can't admit it? Didn't you drive him to work? Peter, Nancy thought a bit. He's the grandson of my grandpa's old friend from the countryside, visited once. The old man asked me to give him a ride. Finally, Nancy declared seriously, I have nothing with Peter. He's not my type. This Peter is so pretentious. No wonder he was fishy when we asked. Turns out he was just lying. After getting out, Amy and I finalized the divorce. No disputes over assets. Amy, feeling guilty, gave me most of it, including 15% of her company's shares. I quickly sold those shares to Amy's rival. Unexpectedly, Peter came to see me. Amy's been so good to you. How can you stab her in the back? I knew Amy had her reasons for giving me those shares, but it didn't make sense to turn down money. I laughed. This is between her and me. Who are you to interfere? You have no idea how busy Amy has been over this, Peter said self-righteously. If something between Amy and me is causing you misunderstanding, I can explain. I didn't know why Peter was doing this. Maybe to leave a good impression on Amy, or so he could say, even if they got together later, that he wasn't involved. Claiming it has nothing to do with me, I wasn't the third wheel. I even tried to get them back together. We only got together after they broke up. Trying to paint a clear and steadfast image. You say I misunderstood. What did I misunderstand? Which employee calls their boss on Christmas Eve, saying they're scared working late? Which employee feeds their boss? We've been well educated. Why can others maintain boundaries and you can't? Peter, don't want it all and still play innocent. I thought the issue between Amy and me was primarily her indecision. Now I see you two suit each other, like pieces fitting together. Honestly, I wish you the best. Alright, I get the money, you get the girl. But a person should know their place. If you want something, work for it, don't just think about getting it for free. Do you really think Amy will love you? Also, tell Amy to stop coming around. She's really annoying. I stood up, ready to leave. Peter heard the sarcasm in my voice and dropped his act. You're so cruel. Losing your kid is karma, he said. When you called that day, she was taking me to the hospital. I saw the hesitation on her face as she was about to answer, so I groaned in pain and said it hurt. You see, when I said it hurt, she hung up your call. So who do you think weighs more in her heart? Lately, I've been feeling pretty good. Cutting my losses, moving on. But when you peel back those deliberately hidden scars, the wound still hurts. I turned back and slapped him hard. Didn't you say I was cruel? Then act smart and don't piss me off. Peter covered his face, looking wronged. I'm not, I didn't. And just like that, Amy showed up. Amy hurried over. Peter covered his face, almost in tears. Amy, I just wanted to clear things up with Michael. We're completely innocent, but… Amy brushed past him and stood in front of me, looking tense. Michael, can we talk? I knew Peter had called Amy over. It was all just to make him look innocent compared to my supposed viciousness. Fine, you got what you wanted. Amy, keep an eye on him. As long as he doesn't bother me, I won't cause trouble. I'm leaving now. Feel free to chat all you want. That's not what I meant. I didn't know he'd come to find you. Amy forced a bitter smile. Michael, feel better now? If it's not enough, I'll give you the company. Amy, that's all your hard work for so many years, Peter said anxiously. Amy turned to Peter. Peter, I'm sorry on behalf of Michael, but this is between Michael and me. It doesn't matter past or future. The person I love is only Michael. I didn't expect some people to be shot down this quickly. Amy, but you let me get close. You like me. If you didn't like me, why'd you buy me those expensive cufflinks? If you didn't like me, why take me on a ride during Christmas? If you didn't like me, why were you so anxious when I got hurt? Peter looked hurt. If anything I did before made you misunderstand. I'm sorry, Amy said, looking uncomfortable. Someone laughed. Sorry, I just had a conversation here, Nancy said, walking over. Peter, didn't you text me yesterday about your showerhead? Sorry, I didn't see it until today. Is it fixed? If not, I can come take a look. Peter was a bit embarrassed seeing Nancy. Why is your face so red? I saw the photo you sent yesterday. You were wearing so little and got wet. Did you catch a cold? Nancy asked with concern. Peter's face turned red and then white. Amy was stunned. See, that's the pure, kind, strong, independent little guy in her eyes. That evening, a friend called me. Amy's drunk and keeps saying she wants to find you. We couldn't stop her. Can you come over? Sorry. Amy and I are already divorced. Her issues aren't my concern anymore. Michael, we've seen how Amy treated you over the years. She gave everything to you. If you wanted the stars, she'd get them. She worked hard outside all for you. Yes, it's her fault this time, but she's like this, and you're so heartless. In her friend's eyes, it seemed like Amy always gave more. She worked hard outside. I had it easy, living comfortably. But they forget, during her startup phase, it was me and my team working day and night on her company's data system. I continued maintaining and upgrading it. I love math and once wanted to explore it deeper. After marriage, I chose a laid-back job. I wanted her to come home to a warm meal every night. There was always a light on waiting for her late at night. A stable relationship isn't just one-sided giving. Professor Lin got sick and was hospitalized. I visited her. Amy was there too. Hadn't seen her in a while, she looked thinner, almost a bit defeated. I thought for a moment, using the title from before, Professor, feeling any better? Old illness. Thank you for visiting. Amy's such a disappointment, sighed the professor. While Amy and I were going through the divorce, the professor tried to patch things up. But after my hospitalization, she slapped Amy. Still, she's always Amy's mom, and our relationship inevitably drifted apart. Don't mention it. You'll always be my teacher. Take care of your health. The atmosphere was a bit awkward. After the divorce, things between Amy and me were strained. After chatting with Professor Lin for a while, I left. Amy leaned against the door. I'll walk you out. A silent walk. Many years ago, we used to walk like this, back to the dorms. Sometimes we'd chat, but often we'd be silent. Though back then, the silence was happy. I looked down, searching for our shadows on the ground. One long, one short, sticking close together. I hailed a cab. I'll drive you, Amy, I said seriously, let's end this here. I've been unable to sleep lately. Every time I close my eyes, memories flash before my eyes. I don't know how I got so lost. The house feels cold without you. I feel at peace only when you're there. How did I manage to lose you? Amy's voice was controlled, but the way her fingers rubbed her pants betrayed her anxiety. She's been having a hard time. Sometimes, late at night, I see a long shadow under the dim light downstairs. Occasionally, I'd get unknown calls. Amy likely had a bit too much to drink, mumbling, "Honey, I feel so bad. Come get me." I hang up, but it affects my sleep. I grabbed a bottle of wine from the fridge. I can't go to bars, stocked up on a lot of wine recently. I've learned to tell the difference between Beaujolais and Southern Italian reds. I'm not doing great either. 7 years of our lives. Memories torture my heart. Amy gave me a dream called true love, then went ahead and bursted herself. I'm fine, she's not worth it. But hey, who cares if I'm drunk? The sun will rise tomorrow. It's a new day. Michael, I regret it so much. I really didn't have feelings for anyone else. Amy. I cut her off. No, you wavered. Now you're just feeling guilty. I told you at our wedding if you fell for someone else, I'd walk away without hesitation. If we kept going, this issue would never fade away. Every little thing in our marriage would get blown out of proportion. I'd always hold a grudge about your past betrayal, and you'd get sick of my relentless questioning. Could we ever be happy like that? Let's end it here. Don't make me hate you. 3 months later, my application went through. I went abroad to pursue my PhD, diving deeper into mathematics, a long-time dream of mine. A project I led caught the attention of a tech company back home. After graduation, I joined H Group. My boss, Vivian, was poised and courteous, almost like a scholar rather than a business person. We didn't interact much, only seeing each other during meetings or presentations. Outside work, coworkers gossiped now and then. Amy's still single, huh? What guy could win her over? I heard she was married once. Apparently, Amy's been divorced for years now. Does she still miss her ex? Or what really went down? The chatter was endless. Everyone has a story, don't they? One night, after working late, it started pouring as I stepped outside. I was feeling a bit down. A car pulled up and the door swung open. Michael, need a ride? I was about to politely decline. It's on my way, really. Vivian's words were thoughtful but not overbearing. Hard to find a reason to refuse. Eventually, Vivian and I got married. We seemed more like business partners. Sometimes we'd share tales of past failed marriages, weighing the pros and cons. We forged ahead together, and 2 years later, our company went public. We rang the bell on NASDAQ. After we got married, I had a daughter. When she was 4, I went back home for a visit. I've kept in touch with Jackson over the years. Jackson ended up with Nancy, and their playful banter made them quite the pair. He told me Amy's company was heading for bankruptcy. Back then, many companies wanted to collaborate on my research project, including Amy's tech company. In the end, I chose to go with someone else. Amy's company was a competitor. Unable to work with me, she spent loads to buy another research outcome, also signing a tough deal with a venture capital firm to try and grab the market. That was when Vivian and I got married. I wasn't sure what Amy was trying to prove, but my thoughts on her were simply impulsive, aggressive, and reckless. In the end, she lost. One day I was out with Coco, and suddenly she disappeared. Scared out of my mind, I called Vivian. Just then, my daughter returned. I saw balloons over there. I just went after them, Dad. Sorry. A lady brought me back. Coco pointed a little way off. The lady was gone. But she was so nice and even bought me ice cream. Coco, didn't Dad tell you not to take things from strangers? But Dad, she was so pretty, didn't look like a bad person. She chatted and played with me. I asked if she had a daughter too. She just smiled and didn't say anything. Seeing my anger, Coco wrapped her chunky little arms around me, trying to soften me up. Dad, I promise not to talk to strangers again. I glanced into the distance, spotting a familiar silhouette. I shook it off. Time has blurred my memory. As I was about to head home, Vivian strode up and hugged us tightly. Weren't you away on a business trip? Vivian was supposed to be working on an important project, our focus for the coming months. Heard you were missing, rushed back midway. I won't do it again. Mommy, I love you. And I love Dad too. Dad loves you too. I love you guys too. Vivian looked back at us, smiling. I hugged my daughter tightly, feeling an unprecedented sense of happiness. We are such a happy family.